watching seasons change. Our roads were lined with adventure, mountains in the way couldn't keep us from the sea. Here we stand open arms. This is home where we are, ever strong in the world that we made. I still hear you in the breeze, see your shadows in the trees, holding on, memories never change.
Okay, good evening everyone. Let's see if this actually works. And if it does, then we can get going. Yeah, there has been a long time since I last streamed, right? Okay, it seems to work. Perfect. So, let me maybe move this window here and move this window here. Okay, perfect. So, Again, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another of my live streams. It has been a while. Today's moderator is KrzaQ. You can see his nickname right here. I think I read on IRC that Foxtrot Charlie will actually be helping as well. So if you have any questions during the live stream, do ping KrzaQ, and if you see another mod on the chat, you can try also pinging them about questions. Today's topic is going to be the Dragon CTF 2018, or actually some tasks from the Dragon CTF. That would be tasks related to Arcane Sector Online, which is a game I developed for the purpose of the CTF. It's basically like an old school MMO RPG. By MMO, I mean that the server is actually able to support up to 256 players. That's actually like a quite easy limit to change. But it wasn't used as an MMORPG. It was used more like a multiplayer game, I would say, due to the amount of players. And actually each team also had their own server. So yeah, it was more like a multiplayer RPG actually than massive multiplayer. Anyway, so I will show you 6 tasks from the Dragon CTF all related to the game. And next week I will tell you about how the game was created, because there was actually quite a lot of code there. I basically spent like 2 months every evening for the last 2 months trying to code the game. Well, not every evening, but most of the evenings. And yeah, there were quite some funny stories to tell about and pieces of code to show. So that will be next week. Today I will only focus on the CTF part of the game. Cool. So, before we get started, as usual, I will wait basically like around 15 minutes until 15 past, so that would be 8 minutes. So some more folks can show up if anyone is running late, and then we'll begin with the topic. So yeah, some random stuff in the meantime. One thing is that I'm playing with the idea of actually making, well, you might know or you might not know, and this is quite actually important context here, is that I'm actually doing 2 live streams a week. Well, in good times, if I don't have to cancel. That would be one in English, which is Wednesdays, as is, well, this one. And Thursday, I'm doing a Polish one. So, and basically the topics on my Polish and English live streams are different. So they're like, I'm showing some stuff on my English live streams, which I'm not showing on my Polish ones. And the other way around, I'm showing some cool stuff on my Polish live streams, which I'm not showing on my English ones. So what I'm playing with the idea of basically making only one topic per week. So the same topic on the English live stream and then on the Polish live stream, which actually, from my perspective, would be really beneficial, because the time I take to prepare a live stream suddenly doubles, because I can, well, spend the same, like use both fractions of time actually to prepare one topic, which is a little better. And I'm not saying that there will be like a drastic quality improvement, but it would be, I believe it would be a little bit better. And so that's one thing. The other thing is, it would be a little easier on me with topics, figuring out topics which I can actually talk about. So I would be quite happy with that as well. And it would be easier, I believe, on the folks who are actually watching both of my live streams but don't always have time to do that. On the other hand, it would not really be great for folks who do have time to watch both of my live streams during the week and speak actually both Polish and English. So yeah, I'm currently gathering feedback on that, and I did do a survey on my Facebook account. My Facebook account is actually only Polish, but that's fine, because I'm basically assuming that everyone who speaks only English and doesn't speak Polish is fine with me doing the same topic, because that doesn't really change anything for them, right? Well, it changes in the sense that they will not be, excluded from the topics which I normally discuss only on my Polish live streams. So there's that. I'm just assuming, yeah, everyone who doesn't speak Polish and speaks only English is fine with the idea. And I guess I'm mostly interested in feedback from folks who are watching both my live streams, both the English one and the Polish one. If you have like some feedback in mind, do send me an email, and I would be quite happy to get any input. What about going full English? No, that won't work. I'm actually okay with doing a Polish one as well. So yeah, I'm even like playing with the idea of adding a German one as soon as I'm able to speak fluently German, like in a couple of years. So yeah. Okay, let's move to some random announcements as usual. First of all, no, this is not it. This is it. This is my moderator's website, dev.krzaQ.cc. You should enter the website and then tell KrzaQ to write new blog posts, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, do visit it. I mean, you know, the more folks go there, I guess the more motivated will KrzaQ be to actually post something new there. Okay, I guess before we get to the main topic, because this is related to the main topic, there are two questions. Do I even remember how to show questions? Like, the last live stream was like a month ago. Okay, so the questions should show up, well, wait, there, yeah, and here they are. Can you overflow the number of async tasks in the Linux kernel? I don't know, but this is an excellent question. Do go and find out, and do let me know, because it is a good question to ask. There were like some funny issues on Windows which were about overflowing the number of related to reference counters, for example, in the kernel. So yeah, it's like, maybe, yeah. Do you plan to upload streams, both Polish and English, in form of audio podcasts? No, not really. So, well, there are ways to get audio only from YouTube, as you probably all know. So that's one thing. The other thing is that actually most of my live streams, well, I show a lot of code and I do a lot of code and I, like draw a lot. So I'm not sure just listening to my podcast would be useful to anyone. If it would be, then I don't know. I mean, I don't have any plans to do it, but if there is a lot of input that, yeah, please do it, then I'm happy to do it. Currently, there are no plans for that, though. Okay, it's still not 15 past, so we will wait 3 more minutes before we get there. What is the reason behind this tweet? And there's a link to my tweet. HTTP became bad or something. Let me see. What is the tweet about? It is my tweet, so it is already public, so I guess we can all take a look. The tweet is it's related to a discussion I had on IRC, I believe, about there are some things you can do using, man in the middle. If something is downloaded via HTTP and is signed, obviously you cannot change the content of it, but for example, you can do some DOSing like attacks. So yeah, I was wondering if there is a reason of actually not switching to full HTTPS, which would exclude these doses. But I guess you can see the rest in the thread. I'm happy to actually give you a link. Here we go. But I guess on IRC or Dashin already gave you the link. Yeah. So there's that. There's no much backstory to it. Okay. Again, why you wasn't on Polish Army CTF? Yes, there was actually a CTF organized by the Polish, I think, Ministry of Defense, if I'm not mistaken, and it came with a surprise that suddenly they realized there's a thing like CTFs, and they came with really cool prizes, quite a lot of tasks. From what I know, there were like 40 tasks, and prizes including both like monetary prizes up to I think like $8,000 for the first place. Or 30,000 Polish zloty. And like you could also choose to, for example, do a parachute jump, like skydiving, or like have some military related training for journalists. So yeah, that was pretty cool. It took place, I think, last weekend, 24 hours. 2-person teams. I wasn't in Poland at that time, so I didn't participate. I learned pretty late that it will take place. so I couldn't extend my stay. I do know that Dragon Sector members actually had second place there, and P4 members had first place there, so congratulations. And another Polish CTF team had third place, so yeah. Okay, one more question. The Supervisor writes, you could exploit the signature parser of the AV. Yeah, you could do that, though that being said, a signature, depending on how complicated the signature is. But yeah, that is true. It is an attack surface. And there were cases where stuff like that was abused. In which IRC channels do you hang around? Well, on Freenode, that would be hash ginveilstream -en for the English channel, and hash ginveilstream without anything for the Polish channel. So yeah, you can find me there. I think it's like somewhere here it rotates with all the other messages. Okay, okay, this is the third point in the next question. The note on Google Summer Game Dev Challenge says, seriously redefines few days. When will we get the source code? Yeah, sorry, I dropped the ball on that totally. I do have to upload the source code for that, and I will probably do it when announcing the Winter's Game Dev Challenge, which will be announced soon. Speaking of stuff like that, there is a mission today. The mission is actually amazing, and it's pretty complicated, and it has prizes, and it was prepared actually by other folks. So do stay and do wait for the mission screen. There will be, I think, top 3 places will get FPGAs. It's about writing bots which drive around tanks in a classical game, and the time will be until 3rd of January to actually submit the mission submissions, I guess. So yeah, and I will post a blog post about it after the live stream anyway, so if you have to go, then don't worry about it. All the details, or actually a link to the mission, will be on my blog later on at ginveil.coldwind.pl. Okay, let's stop the questions here, and we will... Oh, there's one more question I will answer. What do you think, from Frozen, what do you think about the upcoming 100 points CCC CTF, the Chaos Communication Congress CTF, which is always has been the worthy finals of the CTF time season, basically, and the last CTF of the year. It usually is amazing. I know the people who prepare it, they are from one of the top CTF teams, and they are amazing, and the CTF is as well. It is playable from remote, and I will be playing remote. It's quite important for our team actually to play it, and I know that some of my team members are going to the conference as well. It should be fun. It usually is, really. So yeah, this actually brings us to this screen, which is the CTF time. As you can see, we are currently on the, well, quite safely on top, but I guess like anything can change depending on how the CCC CTF goes for the top teams. Well, top 2 teams, I guess. So, this brings us to the Dragon CTF, the CTF which took place during the Pwning conference, the Security Pwning conference, which I co-organized and is organized by the Polish scientific publisher in Warsaw, in Poland. The conference was organized for the 3rd time, but this time it was the first time that the Dragon sector organized a CTF there. Usually we organized on a different city, on a different conference, but this time we went with this conference. And yeah, there was a teaser CTF, as you might remember, and then on the conference itself there was almost 48 hours on-site main CTF. So yeah, let's click on it. The weight of the CTF was 66. It actually received really good ratings. For the, as you can see, the future weight would be around 100 as well. I'm quite happy with that. I'm actually quite happy because Google's CTF is around 100 for the next year as well. So yeah, I'm quite happy that both CTFs I'm involved with are actually getting to the limit. Yeah, it was 4-player teams on site CTF with prizes that would be around like $2,500–3,000 and going down, this is a little more than $1,000 and like $500. As for results, actually the results are here as well. So let me show you this tweet. Tasteless won the CTF with 4,500 points. P4 was the second team, and Spam and Hex B was the third team. So I guess like no surprise top teams in the at the beginning when another Polish team just got the fish was next. Actually, like some folks from my helping me with the live stream are actually in that team, if I'm not mistaken. Then Shellfish, another great team, Spam and Hex Norway. Actually, as you can see, Spam and Hex came with 2 teams because there was the limit of 4 people, and if you can travel with more folks, then you can play as 2 teams. Another great team in form of Bushwhackers, HXP. Basically, you could see the top teams actually came to the CTFs. There were more players, and that some conference attendees also tried their luck. And that was really great. The CTF itself looked like this, basically. So it doesn't look as fancy as Google CTF, I guess, and looks more like a typical CTF, I would say. You can see, like, usually there was scoreboard here, but the Arcane Sector game is actually displayed. Spam and Hex took the third place. We even have these like fancy checks, as you can see, which are pretty hard to get through the airport without destroying them because they are quite bulky and don't fit your luggage. Before second place, congrats, and first place, Tasteless. So well done. And this brings us actually to the game. Now the game will be open sourced on my GitHub on Arcane Sector, and for now there is only a README file there, but I will try to upload it in shortly. I'm not even going to define shortly, but hopefully in the next few days. The game was an old school RPG, as I did mention at the beginning, and there were 6 tasks related to it. And the first task was actually like all the players got was here, have this IP address and connect with a browser to it. So this is I guess a thing we can do now. Let's open a new file and let's open the game. Okay, now this is only a thin client of a game. It means that a real client is running server side and we do not have access to it. And this thin client is only basically an input-output library, which using WebSock connects to the real client, which is rendering the game itself and processing the inputs and communicating with the game server, the real server, because again, this is a multiplayer game. So it's running on the server, so we don't have anything, like we don't have the source code of it. So the first step was actually to, we don't even have a binary, right? So the first step was to get the binary of that. And actually the first task told you get the backup.sh file. And if you are able to leak it from the server, then you will be able to solve all the other challenges. And without that, you probably will not be able to solve the other challenges. Now, logging in was obviously not part of a challenge. All the players did get credentials so they could play. So we can do that as well. Okay, now this is the game. Now, let me actually make the window a little bit smaller so that no part of the user interface is cut off. Okay, let's do it like this. I'm not going to... The important part, I guess, is the mana bar here for some tasks, but not for this task. Let's do it like this. Okay. Now, this looks like a first-person perspective game. It is a first-person perspective game, but this is not real 3D. Actually, it is, but it's not. The way old-school games like this worked is that it was quite easy to render a 3D scene once. It took some time, and the computers were rather slow. There were, no 3D acceleration in the form of GPU, just to the operations on the CPU. So you could render the scene, but you couldn't do it in 60 frames per second. So what the folks did back then, basically they rotated by 90 degrees. So you could, as a player, rotate by 90 degrees as I will do now. Yeah, I just, you know, turned basically to the south. There is this indicator of the direction here. It's south. Then what I was looking in the west direction, this is the north direction, and this is the east direction. And also moving isn't smooth, you actually move by tiles. Each tile in this game is 5 meters, so each time I press a up arrow or like a W, you move by 5 meters. And it's like teleporting basically to the other tile. So we can see the sign here. I'm going to approach it. And if I read it by right-clicking on it, yeah, it says like, welcome to Arcane Island. Now, again, the first task is actually not to, it's not to play the game, it's to get the backup.sh file from the server. So this is what I'm going to start with. And actually on the server, the game is a little laggy. When writing the game, what I didn't account for is that our servers won't be super powerful, and the game actually requires 1 GB of RAM at the get-go, basically. So you start the game and it is 1 GB of RAM, because I just didn't care about the textures. I just like was, yeah, like just unpack them and put them in memory, because whatever. By the way, the graphics are from partly from opengameart.org, which is an amazing site. The credits file for this game is really long. I took a lot of graphics from that site, and all the credits will be you know, visible on the well, I can show it to you. Here it is. Yeah. So yeah, there are quite a lot of art from OpenGameArt. Apart from that, I actually did hire a graphic artist, Bertrand, who is amazing, and he helped me with other projects as well. Did the design for the Dragon CTF webpage, for example. Well, actually not the design, the graphics. Yeah, he also did everything that looks fancy in this game. And looks actually custom made for the game is what he did. For example, all the UI, the trees would look amazing are from him. The map background is from him. The icons are actually I made them. So, and also if you switch to the spellcasting, this is also mine. But yeah, like all the UI is basically his. The trees are his. The characters are his, everything else is from game dev art, and everything which looks super ugly is from me. That's the way it goes. Now, you might have noticed when I opened the game is that it said, oh, there's actually a developer's console. So it's like, you know, like Quake, like Counter-Strike, like all the modern FPS games, basically. If you press backtick, you get a console. And it's also like this here. So in this model, where you have only a thin client which does it renders the graphic, none of this code which displays the graphic is running on my browser. Everything is running client side, and the client only sends the ready frame for the browser to display. So it's like streaming, basically. A little different, but it's like streaming. So yeah, so I need to, every command I run it actually on the real client, not in my browser. Therefore, the back console, it's a really good attack target to get something on the real client. Now, there aren't too many commands because I didn't want the players to be stuck on this too long. So I just gave them the commands that they are supposed to use to get this challenge done. There's a funny story why there is no underscore here. Actually, the initial version of my thin client, the underscore was in the commands, like cfg underscore dump, and underscore didn't work. And yeah, one of the easiest fix was just to remove the underscore. Now the underscore works, by the way. So yeah, there is this like cfg dump, which we could probably use to dump the backup.sh file. By the way, the players did know that the file was called backup.sh. And it says it prints the content of the config file. Well, backup.sh isn't really a config file, but maybe it will work. So we can try that. CFG, was actually backs. Sorry, was actually caps lock. So CFG dump. Oh wait. Yeah. CFG dump. And then backup.sh. You can see probably there is a little lag. And yeah, it says like, yeah, sorry, error. Config file must start with a CFG magic. So it needs to begin with these 3 bytes, and it doesn't. And it actually starts with these bytes. So the command is nice enough to actually leak 16 bytes of that file. So let's let's node these 16 bytes. I do need to open an editor. Please bear with me. Yes, I totally didn't stream recently. I don't think I even have my proper configuration loaded. Well, whatever. Node.py. Let's use Python because why not? Okay. So 23, 21, 2f, 62, 69, 6e, 2f, 73, 68, 20, 68. Okay, and let's change this to like remove spaces and decode hex and print. What is this file? Well, this is an sh file we know from the extension, right? But no, let's do like this. Replace text 2 arguments and I get only one. The default argument should be an empty string, but it's not. Okay, so it's this should be 21. Yeah, like the standard shebang and bash. So yeah, we know the beginning, but we cannot leak the whole file. We need the whole file. How do we leak the whole file? Now the rest of it is actually, the rest of the commands which we have is cfg scheme, which selects the crypto scheme, and cfg password, which selects the decryption password. And as you can see, there are like only two schemes. One is an AES 128 with ECB, an ECB mode, and with MD5 of the password, which is used as the key. MD5 of the password actually is like 16 bytes, 128 bits, so that's perfect for the key length of AES. So that's a well, maybe not perfect, but a decent key derivation function in this case. And yeah, like setting a password, I guess sets a password. So if we actually let's switch the scheme to 1, and it's set to that, and yes, cfg pass w, let's set it to ASDF, and let's dump the config again, cfg dump backup.sh. And as you can see, the bytes actually changed, right? We had like the ASCII characters here, and these are like totally not ASCII characters. Well, this is the end of a line, but never mind. And this is not an ASCII character, as in ASCII, I mean printable ASCII. So something happened, as in the file was loaded, and it was decrypted using the provided password, but obviously, well, the file wasn't encrypted at the beginning, so this is just garbage, right? But what you can do in this scenario is, and this model, this attack model, is actually try to find a key which, a password, which when you encrypt these bytes with, actually gives something which by accident, because, well, this is brute forcing, this is somewhat random, give you the CFG magic at the beginning. And then it will print out the decrypted version of a file. Well, decrypted version would be garbage, but actually if you take that decrypted version and if you encrypt it again, then you get the original file, because that's how it works. So this is exactly what we need to do. And to do that, I already have these bytes, so this is the data I have. I do need to get, to figure out how to use AES in Python. Python crypt, pcrypt, AES, decrypt, encrypt. Okay. Let's just copy paste random code. Oh, this is perfect. Thank you. Okay, random is not important. Key, we are going to actually import MD5. Yeah, that's enough. Let me make it a little bit bigger for you. Now, the key we will randomize, then the IV. We are not using IV because we are using, again, the ECB. The ECB mode is basically the most basic mode where each block of 16 bytes is encrypted or decrypted individually. There is no link between these blocks. So this is the most basic way to use AES, and it doesn't use any stuff like initialization vector. So this is totally not needed, we don't care. The mode is ECB, electronic codebook. Usually you don't want to use that mode because it's actually there are some problems with it. In this scenario, I think it's yeah, it's not great, but it's okay. It doesn't matter anyway, because this is file isn't encrypted anyway, and yeah, there are some different problems. So the message is, no, we don't care about the message. We do care about this though. So this is, and yeah, data. Okay, so this is the code which will what we need, one more thing actually here. Yeah, we need to get the MD5 of the password, because we are actually brute forcing the password. And hex, no, we need the digest, which is the, you know, binary representation of an MD5. And now we need to brute force it. So for I in x range some value, we need to brute force 3 bytes. 3 bytes are 24 bits. 24 bits, the space we need to search through is 2 to the power of 24, which is 16 million. So I gave a value here which is larger than 16 million. And yeah, we basically, our password is stri. We derive the key from the password. The password is just a number. Like, that's fine. Doesn't matter, really. It doesn't really matter what we put in there. In case of MD5, we create a new cipher with this key, and we use it to decrypt the data. This was wrong. If now if the message starts with the CFG bytes, that's it. Yeah. Otherwise, it just keep running. So otherwise, if I divided by this amount is equal to 0, please print a dot for me and a space. Yeah. This is, we need to flash check also to see it. Okay, now yeah, okay, so this is ready. I think it's ready. Well, there are some typos, but other typos we'll see in a sec. Okay, and it's brute forcing, and now we'll have to wait a few moments to basically for it to finish brute forcing. So let's see if there are any questions. Okay, I'm going to show you the questions. Here you go. The questions will be again already here. Does anti-cheat works like antiviruses? In which way are they similar? Would be a nice subject to dig. Quite interested in cheats and anti-cheats techniques. I'm actually not an expert in that subject. From what I know, they kinda work like antiviruses and kinda try to detect if anyone influences the a given process, and there are also techniques related to actually trying to hide the common values which are being read from or like modified in games. So yeah, like for example, a value wouldn't be explicitly mentioned, it would be encrypted in some way, and then every time it would be modified, it would be decrypted, modified, and encrypted, for example. So yeah, that's one of the techniques. Anyway, okay. But again, I'm not an expert in this subject, and there are channels on YouTube which about it actually. A cool question, nevertheless. So this is the password, which basically should work. Oh wait, there is actually no copy paste in this game. I need to see this. Thank you, Windows, for not help. Yeah. So we need to CFG again. CFG pass W 1875989. Okay. And now CFG dump backup.sh. Yeah, so we got it. We got a full dump of the file. There was no error this time because, as you can see, there are these bytes here, but the rest of it is garbage. So what we need to then do now is we need to actually transcribe this. And yeah, I'm going to basically do this. Data is going to be equal to, and yeah, and now I'm going to actually just transcribe the the last line, because as I said, each line is basically a block and they're independent of each other. So I'm going to do the last one because I don't want to transcribe everything. The flag is somewhere in the middle, and so it's like this. The flag is around here. Then there's a link to the backup with the sources of the server. and the binary of the game, and then at the end there's some message. So I'm just going to decrypt the message to show you how it's done. But yeah, like transcribing this doesn't really make sense. I can show you the file later anyway. Obviously the players had to transcribe it, so I apologize. The font isn't too readable anyway, and I don't think you could use an OCR here, but you would faster transcribe it by hand than actually use an OCR or train an OCR on this font. Okay, print data. No, wait. Actually, I need to use the key. Now the key was copy this. The key was this. No, but it was the password actually. Okay. Let's do this. Now I need to encrypt it, because again I have the decrypted data, but I need to encrypt it. I need to lift it to get me print in. Oh, a donation. Thank you, startup guy, for 200 INR. What's an INR? That's cool. I didn't get INRs yet. What's INR? Oh, it's from India. Thank you. I think it's my first ever donation from India. So yeah, thank you. Okay, encrypt message, print message. Let's see if this works. Yeah, it's the end of the message that actually got successfully encrypted. So yeah, I'm going to show you the whole file. If I would actually to transcribe everything, then the file would look like, and this is the moment where I actually find the file. It's here. Here we go. This is how the file looked like. Yeah, this is the flag, this is the link, and I don't think the link works any longer because we shut it down, but yeah. And this is the message. The last part of the message got displayed on the screen. Cool. So having this, the players could actually download they could actually download the files, the server files, the sources, and the binary of the client. Now, they didn't really have to dig into the client. I'm going to move to the client because the client is less laggy than this WebSocket monstrosity. The WebSocket monstrosity is frame limited anyway to is limited to 10 frames, I think, and there is no limit on the client. So let me spin up the server, and let's go with solving all the 5 remaining challenges. That was only the first challenge, and this was basically when we released the challenge. We released it in the evening. We actually wanted to release it in the morning, but you know, standard stuff happened. So yeah, like including at the beginning of a CTF, the power on the whole floor of the hotel went down. So anyway, so due to reasons, we released it in the evening, and we hoped everyone will solve at least the first challenge to be able to download the rest of the challenge if they would like to analyze it during the night. And yeah, okay, so first the server. I guess I can show you how the output of the server works. Again, the players could, let me make it a little bit bigger. The players could just spin up the server for their own. It was missing a couple of files, but they were really easy to, like configuration files, like simple JSON. It was super easy to create just looking at the source code. Okay, stream, here we go. Yes. Importing. Okay. Yeah, now this is bigger, and now this is more readable for you folks. Here we go. Yeah, this is how the server initializes. Not a lot of magic here. Now for the client, let's see if I can actually run the client. Let's run env, and let's run the client with 2. And no, that means I have the incorrect password. Or I might have like a different, yeah, I have the different player ID. Okay, so now we have a desktop client for the game. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Oh, and I'm actually in a funny place. And do I want? And I have some stuff. No, I need a different. I need a different player, a new one. Sorry, let me quickly get another player. Okay. Client. Okay, here we go. I apologize for that. Okay, now we have the client at the initial position and it will be less laggy, hopefully. Yeah. Yeah, it is less laggy. As you can see, if I'm going forward, it's just like I'm teleporting. Now, let's start. There were like 5 tasks. One task was to, I guess the next initial task would be to read, it was called, I think, like almost sanity check, basically a super simple task where you were supposed to read the flag which was written on the game map. Now the server had the game map and the client had the game map in the form of 2 files. If we actually list the files in this directory, let's enter world, I think, or like map. Yeah, there's the map data file, which looks like this. It's not super readable. We can actually try to read it using Irfan View or using GIMP. Yeah, let's try to do that using GIMP. Open with. Why is data not associated with GIMP on this machine? It should have been. Okay, Irfan View it is. And okay, it asks me for parameters. Now the parameters I'm picking are 16-bit because if you'd start digging into the code, you would quickly find out that these are the dimensions of the map, like 512 to 768. And if you'd multiply these values together, you would find out that the size of a file is actually double this resolution for some reason. Therefore, well, it makes sense for the map to be encoded in 16 bits per tile, not 8 bits. It's a tiled map, so, well, you expect a bitmap to be somewhere there. Let's see that, and let's do interleaved. Yeah, let's use the default settings, and this is what we get. It doesn't look great. Yeah, it doesn't look great, but it looks kind of bearable. And what you can find at the end is actually you can read the flag here. So this is all the players had to do. They had to open it and read it. The other way to solve the flag is actually to go into the server directory, and in the server directory there was a JSON file. Now the JSON file looked like this. It's data map. Oh no, I totally don't want to open it in an editor. Yeah. This is the map, and it was quite important for players to open this as well, because while it doesn't read to readable, if you zoom in, you can find out that there is, like, for example, like some sign at these coordinates that has the flag. And there's some other stuff, like, for example, some doors and which act as teleports. There's another flag on some island. There is some maze. And yeah, so all the items and all the, well, yeah, basically all the items, all the entities are listed here on this JSON. And apart from that, there's also the terrain. The terrain, if you'd dbase64 it, you'd get a deflated file, like inflated file, deflated file like zlib. You just decompress it and you would basically get a similar but 8-bit per pixel image, which looks, would also allow you to read the flag. Now, this part here is the flag. This part here is the maze. And another task was actually to, you start here and you have to go through the maze. The maze is actually really big. I will show you it in a moment. And you have to get here. And yeah, there are some other things here. And apart from that, the rest of it is the world. Now, I'm not going to show you the world like this. I'm actually going to show you how it looked like from a developer's perspective, because it's much nicer to be seen that way. And I did use the tiled map editor to create it. It's an open source tile editor for games. It's actually really amazing. So yeah, this is the maze. As you can see, I'm moving it, and it was not supposed to be solvable by humans. It was supposed to be solvable by a bot. So the players had to actually write a bot to go through the maze and reach this part and this part. Oh, yeah, we will get to that actually, but there's a rather simple puzzle there. Apart from that, we start here. And there are some spawns. All this information about the spawns are actually in the JSON file on the server side, so the players could read it. And they could know that, like, for example, this spawn would be, it spawns every 60 seconds, some herbs. Why do we need herbs? We'll find out later. Yeah, and there are some other, also other items. Now, so yeah, one task was the maze, we will get to that later. Another task was called the remote island, and it gave you the coordinates of this sign flag. It's actually, if you zoom out, it's actually a remote island. There are no ships in this game, there is no way to get to the island. The question is, how do you read a flag which is on this sign, on the remote island? Another task mentioned the coordinates of this flag sign, basically. And it, as you can see, is like surrounded with walls on all the signs. There are no doors here. So how do you get inside? How do you read it? That's another task, which we will, I guess, solved initially, like as the first task. Then another task was related to magic. The description said that there is a spell which will give you the flag. You just have to, know which runes to basically click to cast the spell. Unfortunately, I do not have mana yet. And so that's another task. We will get to that. I guess that will be the last task I'm going to show you today. And yeah, I think that's actually it, because only 4 tasks were left. So I'm going to start with solving this task, with the with basically getting inside of this barricaded field. Now, to get here, what I need is actually a teleportation ring. And the players could, go through the JSON and see, hey, where is this teleportation ring? Or actually, not even through the JSON, but through the source files. I'm going to show you the... I think I'm going to show you... Okay, yeah, this file. It's the file with the script which handles the spells, so we'll get back to this file later on as well, but it also handles some items. All the items on the server side, and again the players had access to the server side, were they were of class item, basically. So there are not many items in the game. Actually, for the CTF, I think there are like 5 classes of items at most, maybe 6. So there is not a lot of stuff to look for, and one of the things that players could find is this teleportation ring. Now, the way the teleportation ring works is you basically bind it to a location using a proper binding spell. You need to know the proper binding spell to actually bind it. And then, if you right-click on the ring, it would teleport you back to that location. So you have to go somewhere and then bind it to that location, and then but that doesn't help us. I mean, if we could go here and bind the teleportation ring to this place, then we don't need the teleportation ring anyway, right? So, yeah, but I will get to that. First, I will need to get actually the teleportation ring. I'm actually going to use this interface because it's quite easy to find where the items are. There are switches, blockers, and I need... I think I'm using an old version of the map, because my version of the map doesn't have the Oh, no, I know. I was looking for, the teleportation item, but it's actually a spawn item. I know one ring is here. One teleport ring is here. Now, where is another one? Is there any item here? Oh, there is a monster spawn here, but I never implemented monsters, so yeah, we can just ignore it. I'm pretty sure... yeah, another teleportation ring is here, so we will have to go to... We don't need 2 teleportation rings, but I'm going to probably get 2. And apart from that, to bind the ring to a location, you actually need to use mana. We don't have mana. and we need a spell. Now all the spells, almost all the spells, have this decorator magic spell. So if the players look through the source code, they could find the magic spell, for example, for binding the teleportation ring, and you just need to figure out what do these numbers mean. Now, how to figure that out? Well, I guess the easiest way is to start and not really analyze the client, that's one way to do it, but start and do a proxy for the client, a network proxy which will show you all the packets, or like look in Wireshark or whatnot, right? Because the protocol is super simple, and you would quickly find out that these are basically numbers of the runes, so like in hexadecimal. And furthermore, in game, you can only, like, from a protocol level, there are 256 different runes. But if you count these, right, like these runes, there are no 256 runes here. There is only 64 runes. So probably not all runes you can cast from the client. And, you know, well, this is a hacking competition. You have to do something about that. But for now, actually, this spell is totally doable, totally castable using these runes. Yeah, so actually, if we look at this again, and after analysis, which I'm just going to tell you, is like this. This row is 40, the next row is basically 50, 60, and the last row is 70. And then, starting from this is rune 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on and so forth. So basically, if our spell says 76, 77, 78, that means you have to press this rune, this rune, this rune, and this rune to cast the binding spell for the teleportation ring. Now the problem is that depending on if you again read the code, which I'm not going to do, I'm basically like skimming through it because there is a lot of code on the server side. The players had 20, well, I guess like around 24 hours to solve it, but the live stream is a little shorter, so I'm just going to quickly guide you to the proper places. Yeah, so the power of the spell is basically how many runes are there. So if there's only one rune needed to cast the spell, it means the power is of 1. If there is like 4 runes, well, the power is of 4. So it requires 20 mana, like 4 level 4 spell times 5. That requires that amount of mana. We have 10 mana. We have to gather mana. Again, the players, there's nothing in game to tell the players how do you get more mana. It doesn't recharge on its own, as you can see. So yeah, you could again go to the code and find there is something called flasks, which is a set of items. Again, there are not many items. The items, by the way, and these items, the herbs and the maze, were implemented by Euro. So the rest of the stuff I did, but he helped with the stuff and testing. Anyway, and there is something called a mana potion, and a mana potion requires a proper bit mask. Okay, and if you look at the herb items, you will find out that each herb, and there are like a lot of herbs, actually is related to setting 1 bit, like depending on which number is that, and yeah. So item index, shift the bit and add it to bit mask. This is the index of the herb depending on which herb is it. So if the herb is, for example, Fria, let's start with Ruella, that means it will, using Ruella on a potion, will bit mask of a bit 1. If you use Drone, that would be the second bit, and so on and so forth. So we need to find out which bits need to be set for the mana potion, and to do that we need another file. It's called constants. Here we go. And we need, yeah, mana potion. So that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 6 and 8. We need for the mana potion bits 6 and 8. And that's the only way to get that. So what would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? We need this herb, and we need this herb. So we are going to look on the map for Freya, and we are going to look for the Spoglow Mint. Now, when we released the game, all these herbs were present, and it was a little pain to look for these herbs, and you need a lot of mana. So later we actually changed that for only these 2 herbs to spawn, and this is the dirty hack, which you can see here. It makes sure that only these 2 herbs spawn, because these are what players need. We didn't want the players to waste time looking for the herbs if what the players need to do is actually to basically, well, solve the challenges and not play the game. Well, partly. Okay, so I have already Freya, I have 3 Spoglow Mints, then I did see another Freya here, and another Freya here. I'm going to gather as much as possible because these will be useful later on. And another Freya would be useful as well. Where's another Freya? No, Spoglow Mint, here's Freya. Yeah. Okay. So, now I need battles, because, sorry, not this file, but, not the herbs file, but this file is about flasks, so I need battles. I need to find where the battles are. If, yeah, empty flasks, basically. If we look here, there is a test building here, and the test building has a door, and the door is of teleport group called test building, and if we enter it, we enter basically here, and there are spawns with the flasks. This is one place to get the flasks, another place is, I believe, here, like in these mountains, maybe somewhere else as well. So yeah, the players could read it, they didn't have to look through the world, they could just read it from the proper place. I'm just going to follow the road now. Yeah, the world is pretty big actually. It's like, yeah, I wanted it to be big, I didn't want it to be like super small, so there will be a certain amount of walking today. Yeah, the buildings weren't fully implemented. Okay, I need only one flask, and I'm going to use the flask on this herb, and I get an unspecified potion, and then on this herb, and I get a mana potion, so I'm going to drink it, and I still have an empty flask. So that's fine, and I have quite a lot of mana to bind a ring, to actually even bind 2 rings, so now I need to go for the rings, so okay. Let's go for the first one. It will... actually, you know what, I'm going to do it with only 1 ring. I would need a second ring to actually get back, but yeah, like whatever, I'll just get another, I guess another character that might be faster than actually getting the other ring. Okay, this is by the way the way to the mountains, which we'll go over in a second. Yeah. We decided to become a gaming stream, much larger audience this way. Kinda, sorta. Let me see if there are any questions, since I'm doing a lot of walking. What's going on with WebAssembly? Is it used by anyone in a serious project? It's a good question. Some folks did write the competition entries for the Genvay's Summer Game Dev Challenge in WebAssembly, so it is there. And I guess like folks started to use it. Is it used for serious projects? Probably not yet, because it's pretty young, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be used quite a lot, because it's actually quite amazing. Okay. Now, yeah, I'm not getting the second ring, but I do need to go to the mountains. I heard Serpent is more secure than AES, due to AES being broken in purely cryptographical sense. Why do not much more implementations use it? I actually don't know, in all honesty. I have no idea. I don't even believe I use Serpent, so yeah, sorry. Okay, now this sign here says danger ahead, but again, I didn't implement monsters, so there are no monsters. Let me just go to the proper place. Yeah, as you can see, I didn't really implement proper texturing. It's a software engine, by the way, like fully written from scratch. not great. Yeah, sorry, this is a little... I know it's a little bad to watch when you need to do a lot of turning in these mazes. You can look on the minimap, it's a little easier. Is it possible to get the credentials for the web version of the game? No, actually I was wondering if I could give you the credentials so you folks could play, but again, our servers would just die because the client isn't written in an optimal way. It would just die. So yeah, sorry. I hoped that would be possible, but again, this will be on my GitHub. There will be binaries which you can download and play and run the server on your own. So there's that. Okay, let's hide the questions for now. Yeah, so this is basically the place where I need to get in. As you can see on the minimap, right? Yeah, the flag is basically around here. So I need to figure out a way to get there. And I think I have everything ready. Let me maybe exchange this with this and put it here. Okay, now we get back to the code since I have everything ready. The code is here, is basically how the binding works and how the teleportation ring itself works. So, there's a question. Oh, Disconnected asks if I want a proxy with a teleport hack. Actually, yeah, Disconnected, if you could send it to me. That might save me some time, especially if you have it as something decent. Okay, so let's look first on how the item works. So there is this use method, right? And it checks if the teleport is set. If it's not set to any location, it says ring not bound to any location, use proper binding spell. We can actually test that in game. I'm going to use the ring, and it says, yeah, ring not bound to any location, use proper binding spell. Then it shows if it's actually bound, it shows teleporting in 3 seconds, and then it goes to sleep. This is actually, because of the model of the server, it's actually one thread separated into fibers. There are quite a lot of threads, but there's one main processing thread. And so if a script wants to sleep, it actually has to yield to another fiber. Therefore, yeah, sleeping is basically just yielding. So yeah, it sleeps for 1 second, and it says like teleporting in 3, 2, 1, and then it teleports. It basically calculates the index based on the map size. Then this is something I need to totally like make constants or use some configuration, never mind. Then it checks where the player wants to teleport, and if it's in blocking type. So if a player wants to teleport inside the wall, that's not going to happen. It's like you detected flawed binding, so you are not going to teleport. And it renames the ring to flawed. It still works, but it's flawed. Apart from that, it basically like teleports the players. It says that yeah, I'm like moving to these coordinates now. The player position is being moved to these coordinates, and it sends the player position, and it says like you feel dizzy, but it works. So this is how teleportation works. There's actually not much code here, like just some waiting and this position assignment, and that's it. That looks okay. Now let's look how the binding itself works. So this is the spell. No, that's the RAM spell. I need the binding spell. This is the bind spell, yeah. Okay, sorry, give me 3 seconds. I actually got a link from Disconnected with a proxy. Oh, it uses. Yeah, we can, I guess, we can analyze Disconnected's proxy for solving this challenge, but I will first still have to explain it to you. Okay. So we how does this work? We basically type the spell, then it says select teleport ring you want to bind to this location. So it asks the player basically, yeah, please select the ring. So the player selects the ring. It basically is quite complicated. It's yields here, but it sends a packet to the client saying, please select something. The client selects something, and a packet is sent with what has been selected. Then the server wakes up the fiber, which is responsible for that. And if like nothing was selected, for example, or there was a misselect or a timeout, then it actually returns early. Yeah, so if nothing was selected, it aborts binding of the teleport ring. If a thing which is not an item was selected because we need to select the teleportation ring, then it aborts. Otherwise, it basically checks if it's a teleport ring, and it implicitly also checks that it's in player's either possession or close to the player. And yeah, and when it notes the backup position of a player, it sets the teleport set to false, and it says that the ring is unbound, but it also says starting location binding ritual. And yeah, it sleeps 1 second, it says verifying location of planets, and then it actually notes only the x coordinate. It doesn't note both coordinates at the same time. Then it sleeps another second, and it measures the disturbance of the force, and then it sleeps another second, and then it notes the y coordinate of the player. So as you can see, there are like 2 second difference between noting the x coordinate and the y coordinate of the player. And then it says calming local ether fields and probing nearby dimensions, some more sleeping, and then, so there are like 2 seconds sleeping here, and then it checks whether the player moved. Like, is the player still at the same location? If not, then yeah, ritual failed. Don't move next time. Sorry, you moved. Otherwise, if this condition is not met, then the teleportation ring basically is set to true. It changes the name to whatever the coordinates are, and it shows the text like teleportation ring bound to any location, and the player gets like refreshed inventory and ground around the player. So yeah, well, it looks okayish, kinda. This is the race condition here, but then it actually checks if the player moved, but it doesn't really check that the player moved, right? It says don't move next time, and it looks like a checking that the player did move, but what it actually is, it checks if the end position of the player is the same as the beginning position, which means the player could like totally dance around the map and then quickly go back to the same location, and yeah, that would be fine. So what we do have to do is we have to basically do a little dancing around. Let me show you that on the map. Yeah, we basically can start from, I guess, like here, wait for the x coordinate to be bound, and the x coordinate would be bound to this x coordinate, the whole column, right? And then we quickly go to, during the 2 seconds, here, and now the y coordinate is being bound. And then, yeah, we get the message that the coordinate was bound, and then we quickly go back to the same location, the initial location, and 2 seconds passed, and we, yeah, the checks, hey, did we move? Are we still in the same location? Yeah, we are in the same location. We didn't move, totally didn't move. And it says, yeah, okay, so the ring is bound. But the ring isn't bound here, the ring is actually bound here. So we can teleport inside the wall, which is actually great for us. So this is what we need to do. We need to do this. Now, we can do this by hand, and I'm going to attempt it once if I try to, yeah, maybe it will work. If it doesn't work, then we will use disconnect's exploit, basically. Cool. So, yeah. I need to stand here. Now, I need to do 1, 2, 3, move 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, move 1, 2, 3. Okay. This is what I need to do. Let's see if I can do it. Now, this is the binding spell, as you remember. And yeah, before I do that, what are the messages? It says, when it says verifying location of planets, that means that the x coordinates is being basically bound already. Because, you know, this is just... this is scheduling basically a packet to be sent, but this executes really fast, so it means the x coordinate is bound and I can move. So I move at this moment. And then there are 2 seconds and it says calming local FR fields. When it says that, it means the y coordinate is bound and I need to go back. So verifying and calming. Yeah. Yeah, so okay, I failed. Like, it's hard. Some players on the CTF actually get it, and while testing I did get it as well. But yeah, it used quite a lot of mana. I guess I can try it once more. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's try it. Okay, yeah, I got it actually. So yeah, the location is bound to 220 and 301, and is yeah, well, I can see, you cannot see, it's actually this coordinate. So let's use it. And I'm inside. And it says king under the mountain. Yeah, so this is the flag, the solution to the next challenge. Now, the problem is, how do I get out? And I don't. Basically, I need to probably restart the server, because that's why you need the second ring actually to get out of it. I'm just going to restart the server though, so this is the server, and I'm going to kill it, and I'm going to restart. And yeah, I'm going to start the client as well. Where's the client? Okay. Cool. So that was one task, like the third task, right? Now let's go for the fourth task. The fourth task is actually getting to this island. Like, how do we get to the island? Oh, we have the teleportation ring, right? So what we can do is we can actually bind the ring. Well, we cannot, because to bind the ring, you need the x coordinate to be able to set somewhere on the island. But you cannot. There is like nowhere on the map, apart from the maze and apart from this, there is, well, you cannot just get here. And you cannot get to the maze fast enough, because the entrance to the maze is actually here. So you cannot get there fast enough to then bind the y coordinate here. So you cannot use the teleportation ring trick to actually do that. Yeah, so what you need to do is, yeah, you need to do something different. Let's look what else do we have that is available for us. As far as items go, that's it. There are no more items. There are like these 2 herbs, the flasks, the teleportation item, and actually, like, technically the signposts and the doors are actually items, but there are no other items in the game, item types, right? So we cannot use any other items. What about spells? How many spells are there? We know already 1 spell, right? So what about a second spell? Maybe a third spell. Let's find all the spells. I'm in the spells PY file, and this is the binding spell. So I'm going to look for magic spell, the decorator. And yeah, there's a fire arrow which says like show text fire arrow. This probably isn't implemented. There's nothing to shoot fire arrows with anyway. There's also a ram spell, which I guess is implemented, somewhat, I guess, an offensive spell. And what else? Then there's the binding spell, and that's it. Well, yeah. So by using just like, you know, the standard elimination, and it's probably not the fire arrow. It's probably we probably need to use the ram spell. Now, ram here isn't, you know, random access memory. It's actually like ramming something, shoving or pushing, right? That kind of ram. Sorry. So what do? We select who to ram. Then we select. If the result is none, then never mind. Then it checks if it's a mobile, like a player or an enemy. And you can only shove away mobs. Okay. And then it checks if the player position is the same as the target position. If the player stands on the same tile as the target. If it's not, then the target is too far away. You can only ram or push using the spell anyone who is on this tile. Then it actually calculates what it looks, where are you looking at? Like the player is looking at in this direction, like for example north, right? So it translates it into a vector. North is actually 0 on the x coordinate and -1 on the y coordinate. That's the direction. If you would go in that direction, go north, you would actually move by this amount. And it adds, it basically calculates the index. We saw this before when binding the teleport, when checking on the map if something is blocking. So yeah, it adds it together, then it multiplies the y coordinate by the moved position of y. So it's basically, yeah, it basically calculates the index on the map of a given byte for the new position, for the position where the target would actually be shoved to, where the target would be pushed to, right? So if we are here and the target is here, we would push the target one tile this way. So that's why we add the move vector here. And then we check if the index coordinate is, if it's in a blocking tile. So if there's a wall here, if there would be a wall, then we cannot push the target there because there's a wall, right? Then we take that and basically like do the math in the opposite direction, and we check if it's in the world boundary. If it's, you know, like if there is a map, nobody wants to push anyone off the edge of the map. And then it, what does it do? Oh, it checks if there is a blocking item. For example, a door would be a blocking item, a closed door, right? An open door would be an open one, but yeah, so a teleport would be another thing. So that's fine. Assuming that there is nothing really blocking the target, then it's actually being moved. Yeah, we move it to the new coordinates, right? The coordinates which were calculated there. And it sends to the target, if it's a player, a message saying you've been shoved away by a wall of force, and it shows the casting player a block of force hits the target and pushes it away. So this is how it works. Yeah. Now, what's the problem here? The problem is actually quite funny. As you can see, we are using the here for the check, right? It is a kind of proper check done on incorrect information, because we are using the information derived from this math. The math is here is correct, but this checks for an overflow, right? What if the overflow happened already here? What if we have an overflow here? We actually, this gets to 512 because it was 511, but then the move vector is +1 on the x coordinate, so we get 512. And 512 on the if here, oh wow, that's amazing. Sorry, on the if here, that would actually, yeah, be like, yeah, can't push the target. But it's not being checked here, it's actually like being added to the equation. So we get 512 plus whatever is the y coordinate multiplied by 12. And then when we go to the math below, to this math, we get division by 512. So we won't get, you know, if it was 512 and it's like the modulo 512, that's just 0. So our x coordinate suddenly gets from 512 to 0, which means we travel from the end of the map to the beginning of the map. Let's look at the map again. And as you can see here, right? This map actually touches, sorry, this island actually touches the edge of the map. The x coordinate of these tiles is 0. So if there would be a piece of land on the other side of the map on exactly this y coordinates, we could actually push somebody off the map, and due to the incorrect calculations, the other player, hypothetically, would be actually teleported to the remote island. So yeah, that's it. Let's try it. Now, to do that, I actually need 2 clients. So I will start with one client, and then I will actually have to. I'm sorry, that's a long distance. So I will answer the questions, some questions now while walking, because I will have to walk 2 players there. In what language was the desktop version programmed in? It was programmed in C++, and C++ with using like the new standard stuff. I do need some mana actually to be able to cast it, so I need to take this. Okay, now let's get it going. But yeah, so it was C++. It's basically, that's it. Like, no libraries. The libraries which is used to display the client frames, it's SDL, but SDL is only used for like input and output. There is no OpenGL, it's purely software. Yeah, and it's by the way like a new standard of SDL, sorry, a new standard of C++, like 17 or something. I don't use too many features from that, but yeah, I'm currently going, like, approaching the mountain here. Now I need to get the battles, which are somewhere here. Here, where's yeah, here. Okay, so I need a battle. Perfect. And let's. The server is in Python, which as you saw, and the thin client is in JavaScript with Python, basically. The server side is in Python of the thin client. Could we do kind of asymmetric crypto with OTP or KDF as a key to symmetric ciphers? As a key to symmetric ciphers. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I even understand the question. I might not be good enough in cryptography to actually answer that question. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not yet there. How long did it take me to prepare this? 2 months, basically every evening for 2 months. And, you know, it was like the Google CTF. So basically the story behind this game is like this. After the teaser, the Dragon CTF teaser, we looked at the layout. The layout was again prepared by the graphic artists, and we're like, yeah, the layout is pretty cool. We're pretty happy with it. It would be cool to have a game in a similar, like, graphics. But yeah, only 2 months left for the CTF, so we don't really have time to prepare it. And I was like, yeah, maybe, how about we, no, sorry, I was like, if I prepare a game, by any chance, can we use it on the CTF? And they were like, yeah, sure. So, yeah. So I prepared the game, and we used it on the CTF, basically. I can teleport with cheat from disconnected, but I'm not sure if disconnected proxy teleports. Okay, but I'm actually here. Yeah. Okay, now I need to be on the proper coordinates. Okay, let me look here. So this is around 164, so I need to be here around 164-ish as well. And I guess it's, yeah, it's like I need to look for this patch of green. This is, okay, this is this patch, and I need to go here. This is basically perfect. Okay, now I need the second client. Okay, so that was the question. Well, the thing I already answered. Let me run the second client then. So if you have any questions, this is actually the perfect opportunity to ask the questions, because it will take me again some time to walk there. Okay. Okay, here's the second client. I actually do not need anything, I just need to go there. Will Ginvale do any of the medium hard challenges on the entry level CTF wargames, such as harder challenges on Pico CTF. I was actually thinking of doing the whole Pico CTF, like, you know, from start to finish at some point. Not sure if you folks would be interested in. What do you think about actually me doing the whole Pico CTF? It would take, I guess, like several hours. It might be split into several streams, but I could do that. So yeah, just let me know, basically. Okay. So I see Disconnected has a maze solver. The thing he sent me was a maze solver. I'm going to use it to solve a maze, and I'm going to write my own in that case. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I'm actually going to open source both the server and the client. Like, everything is going to be open source. I'm not sure on the license yet, probably GPL, but yeah, I'm trying to still figure that out. Quite a lot of walking. Yeah, I'm somewhere around these planes right now. Okay. If I'm here, then I'm already close. Oh, wait, where am I? Oh, right. Yeah, I'm exactly here. Yeah, I see that Dohan is actually wants me to use the teleport from Disco. It's not that far, and I'm almost there, so it doesn't make sense at this point. Okay, now this is the first and only time you will see another character in this game, I guess. Yeah, here we are. Okay, perfect. So, now we need to push the character. What was the spell for pushing? We need to get some mana first. Okay, and now we need to show the character. To do that, I need to figure out what the spell is. The spell is 51, 51, 51. 51, that's like this. So yeah, let's look at both clients at the same time, I guess. So 51 is like, no, that's, this is 51. Okay, select the target and we select this, boom, and we get teleported to the other side of the map. Perfect, now just to find where is the flag, here's the building, you can already see it. Yeah, and we get, yeah, so how will you get out of this island? And yeah, this is a fair question. Again, there is, unless you have a teleport ring bound to it, you cannot get off this island. Like, you would have to have another player basically bring you it. But the CTF players actually had 256 characters, so that was fine. They could just, you know, use another one. So yeah, this was the second of the tasks which require to find you to find a logical error in the game. Now let's I'm actually going to do the maze task now, and let's try to use the proxy that Disconnected has gave me. To do that, I need to copy it somewhere. Oh, that's actually a good place to copy it. Okay, so let me show you the maze again, so you can figure out what's the path through the maze. This is the maze. Please quickly tell me on the chat how to get from here to here. And in the meantime, I'm going to take a look at the, download the proxy basically. Okay, so this is the code by Disconnected from, I don't know which team he actually played in, Just Cut the Fish. Okay, it uses Pwn. I do not have Pwn, but I don't think that's actually important. It's a proxy server which means it from the one side you create it with a client, and from the other side you actually well, it connects to the server from the other side. And is there a maze solver here? Disconnected told me that there's a maze command actually. Yeah. If say data is maze, then solve maze. Okay, we can look how disconnected solved the maze. Oh, here it is. These are the moving directions. And then it... Wow, okay. Self-rotate, go forward. It actually like... Oh, it actually just sends the moves. Where are the moves? How did you get... Oh, these are the moves to actually solve the maze. Yeah, so that would be kinda cheating, so I'm still going to show you how to solve the maze, I guess. I am going to use the proxy to get to the maze though, so let me restart the server and get to the maze. Do I need mana potions? No, I do not need mana potions. To solve this. Okay. I guess we are here, but no. Okay, buy from proxy. Oh wait, oh, directly. Okay, so it's running on port. Which port are you running on? I hope that's not the same port my game is running on. Real server, local host. Where's the port? Oh yeah, 5002. That's fine. So I need to change the game to actually connect to the other port. Okay, I changed it, so let's try to connect. And I think it worked actually. So let's try. There is a... I can write. There's actually saying like chatting in the game as well. I can write TP and then coordinates, and the script should actually take me to these coordinates. So I want to go to these coordinates. Let's start with these coordinates and see what happens. 396 and 313. You said. Did that work? I'm not sure that actually worked. Did I actually connect to the proper place? Let's try it again. Oh, I know, I didn't, because I need to do this. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, no, it works. Oh, it uses pawn tools, and I do not have pawn tools. So, yeah, I cannot really use this proxy in that case. I would have to modify it. So yeah, sorry, I will have to go with my own proxy in that case. So I will first go here manually, and then we can actually solve the maze in a proper way. I thought it wasn't using the it. So yeah, how to get to the maze? The maze actually has a door, and the door is of teleport group maze, and then on this island there is the entrance door basically, so we have to go to this island. That's why I was pointing there. So I'm quite close actually here, so I just need to leave this this island. Here's the road. Oh, now I see a problem. Okay, whatever. Okay, are there any questions? Could one of the teams block access to the flag by leaving a player there? Every team had a separate server, so basically no. Also, you can have multiple mobs on the same tile, and that's fine. That's actually how it's supposed to be. where we'll display one next to each other. Okay, and where am I? I'm here, so yeah, now I just go straight down. Even. Yeah. Virtual and pip install. Actually, whoa, really? Pawn tools are in pip? I didn't know that. Maybe we could do that. Okay, so I need to find the passage to that island, and it's here. Okay, as you can see, the trees here are, yeah, like pines mostly. So now I need to find the building first. Building, where are you? Oops, annoying. Okay, here we are. And we can enter the maze. Okay, so we are at the beginning of the maze now. And now we need to basically write a... okay, I think I'm just going to download the pawn tools, after all. So pip install pawn tools. Does that work? Yeah, so basically, yeah, there was no denial of flags attack. That's exactly how you say. Height. Okay, yeah, pawn tools are still downloading. They should be here in a sec. Okay, so let me explain you how you could solve a maze like this. Basically, it's quite a simple programming task, so maybe I even won't show it to you. The way you can do it, especially that this maze is big for a human, but is not big from a computer's perspective. So what you could do is you can basically, do it recursively. And if Python complains about, yeah, recursive limit has been hit, you can actually change the setting for it to don't care. And what you do is you note the position you're standing on, and then try to move in each direction. And if there is a wall, then do not go there. If you already have been on that position, do not go there. Otherwise, move there and call the function recursively, and so on until you reach the end, and the end is actually on this position. So if you reach it, then you have basically on the stack, you have all the positions. So you, for example, return a list, and you start filling with each return, like, has the list been returned? Fill it with my position. Has the list been returned? Fill it with my position. And at the beginning, you basically get a list with all the steps required to get to that position. And yeah, that's it. So let's maybe quickly try to implement it, and let's see how that goes. As I did mention, let's use the game client map. Yeah, pawn tools are still installing. Yeah, maze py, and first I need to load the map, so import. Now you know what, I'm actually going to use the server map after all, because it's a little easier with JSON. Okay, so I copied the map, and again the map is in like a key called terrain, so import JSON with open map JSON. Well, we read it as f read, and JSON loads from string. Actually, we can do just load. This is the JSON, so data, and the terrain is like data of terrain. Then we need to decode base 64 on it. And we need to deflate it, so decode setlib. And we have the map ready, let's print the len. It should be the same size, like exactly the same size. Why not just stick to the right wall? It's a question for solving the maze. Yeah, well, that would take... It's actually what the algorithm which I described does that. Does exactly that. It sticks to the right or left wall. It just takes a long time to normally if you do that to solve it. But the algorithm will give you the proper path. And it's a naive, simple algorithm. It's not the proper way probably to do it, but actually I'm not sure if there's a better way to do it. Feel free to tell me. It is. Anyway, yeah, so it's loaded. Now we need the start coordinates, and the start coordinates are 11,523. 11,523. So that's the start coordinates, starts. And then the end coordinates are, and let's look here. You actually don't see it, but I have the coordinates in the corner. We need to reach 309, 597. Okay, now let's try to do it recursively. If I hit recursion limit, I'm going to change it to a linear algorithm. So solve, then the position, and then well, I do need like some kind of a map, like terrain. Terrain is fine. I'm just going to be passing this around, but I want this to be a byte array, not a string. I want it to be a byte array. And before we get there, please tell me on the, like, I'm going to make an ADX function which gets xy, returns x plus y, or actually like maybe like block, and get a terrain. So yeah, we multiply it by 512 and we get it from the terrain. No, I think index is better because I will be using the index for also writing to the terrain. Yeah, okay, and please print what's on the terrain from index of this position, the start position, because I don't remember what are the tile numbers basically. So yeah, this is 6. 6 is basically where we can stand, and I'm going to add 1 here. This is a wall. A wall is 8. So yeah, so okay, like floor, it's 6. So everything which is not 6 is basically, yeah, I probably cannot go over. That's fine. So okay, solve. Basically is like this. I'm going to run it like solution equals solve, and that's going to be, I'm going to start with the start position, and yeah, terrain is just terrain. Initially I need to calculate the index, so I is index of position, and I can, I guess, do it. This is the easiest way, so let's just do it. ID of I, if it's floor, if it's not floor, then return none. That's the same, so return. Otherwise in terrain do put like 0 at that location, because we already been there. We do not want to go back to the same location where we've already been, so just do this. And otherwise we do need the move vector, so a move vector. We can copy it from disconnect. Yeah, here. We actually don't need this. Okay, there are 4 move vectors which can be tried. That's west, east, south, and north. Okay, that's fine. And okay, then we basically go through the move vectors. If the new position, so basically pos from, like, sorry, let's make a new position is actually position from 0 plus move vector from 0 and position of 1 plus move vector of 1. That should be fine, but I am going to add brackets just in case. And red is going to be equal to solve the new position and the terrain. If red is not none, so actually we're returning a list, then that's perfect. And by perfect I mean we actually return it. That's it. We collapse everything. But we don't really return it. We actually do append and our position. I'm wondering, I think the moves will be backwards, but we can flip it later on. So yeah, we append our position, so position. Okay, now there's one more thing here. If new position is actually equal to the end, then we return a list with the new position. Yeah, otherwise that's it. Like, this will return none by default, so yeah, let's try to solve it and let's print the solution. I am going to probably use if the pawn tool is installed, because it still takes some time. Yeah, I don't need this. Okay, file, what? Oh, that's a recursion limit error. I'm going to actually let it print. Yeah, maximum recursion reached, and that's fine because there's a Python setting for that actually. The setting doesn't help a lot though, because it's yeah, here we go. And set the recursion limit to 100,000. I copy pasted from Stack Overflow. And Python crashed. Okay, so this is yeah, perfect. What Python am I using? Switch. Sorry, which Python is it? It's 64-bit. I was hoping I can just, like, you know, get away with changing to a 64-bit version. So yeah, sorry, I cannot actually use a recursive version, so I'm going to use linear version. So I basically need to implement the stack myself. That's it. So let's call it the stack. And I'm basically doing while true on everything here. Okay, and if it's not something, then if it's not, we cannot go there. If it's not floor, then I basically continue. I pop the stack. I wonder if I should do like a proper implementation of it. No, so let's do it like this. At the beginning, I push something to the stack. So stack append the my position. This is what I append to the stack. Perfect. Now, if I'm not this, then I'm actually going to pop that from the stack, so pop -1. I think that's what pop -1 does in Python. It returns 3, but actually it influences the list as well. Yeah. So, okay, so this is... Oh, seems spawn tools installed. Cool. Okay, so yeah, and continue basically. Is this correct? No. I will have to change some code later on. Otherwise, if it's when it pops it and it continues, then it appends. No, this is an infinite loop. I'm wondering how to quickly change it, you know, with just basically hacking around. New position. Oh, I wonder if I actually could like just run it with PyPy and if that would help. Come on. Ulimit should fix it. On Windows there is no ulimit. That's okay. I'm going to backtrack my changes and let's try it again. I'm wondering if it's worth actually doing. Okay. So let's leave it, let's try it. Running it again and it crashes again. Okay, so let's do it on I'm going to try PyPy though. Yes, map JSON, that's totally what I wanted to PyPy. No, PyPy also crashed. So let's do it on Linux. Limit -s this Python maze. Oh, it worked. Perfect. So thank you. This is really amazing. And we have some moves. We start with, yeah, again, as I did tell you. Yeah, so I guess it's on Windows you could do probably a similar thing, but you actually would need to. There is a way to set thread size as well, but that's fine. Okay, let's save it somewhere. ISDF, and now let's look if disconnected has the similar moves. Oh, but disconnected has vectors and doesn't have moves, so yeah, we cannot really check it. Let's check perhaps the last coordinate just to be sure we reached the proper place. This is, yeah, the coordinate matches. So I kind of believe that it actually solved the maze. Let's assume it solved the maze, and now let's use disconnects its proxy server to see if it actually works. Oh, what I did here is I did comment this out, so I am going to need to comment it again. And Python proxy. Okay, it says it doesn't have cursors. Ah, come on. Yeah, this is why I prefer to write stuff from scratch. Okay, and I cannot do that because there's an error. I cannot install it. No, it doesn't. It cannot install Pawn tools for some reason. So yeah, I'm sorry. No proxy for us. Unless there is a rather simple change for the proxy that we will not need these types. Let's see what the types are used for and how many of the types are actually used. So this is one, and it's payload size. Oh, I know what this does actually. I can copy it from my code. These, and that's like call them. This was U32, U64, U16, and U8. See if this is enough. Okay, this actually might be enough. We'll see in a second. I do need to reconnect the client to actually connect through the proxy. To do that, I need to find out where the client is. I'm missing text order. That sounds like my code. Okay, I connected, and it seems this is fine. Okay, so it seems it works. Okay, yeah, but that's a super simple change. So yeah, we can use disconnect. It's proxy after all. Now his code enters the maze coordinates using the maze. Yeah. And it did something, I guess. Not sure what did it do. Well, it didn't. Maze 0. Okay, thank you. Oh wow, okay, it works, thank you, that's actually cool. Yeah, this is a proper way to go through a maze. So yeah, perfect. Disconnected saved us actually in a lot of time because I didn't have to implement a proxy. The proxy does add some lag. So yeah, we basically reach here, and what we can... I'm actually going to disconnect the proxy now because it adds a lot of lag. No. Okay. Here we are. So now what we have is we reach basically, you know, the last place here with a lot of switches. And the switches are on or off, and they have some value. Sorry, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger for you. And what you have to do is you basically have to turn on proper switches. And as you can see, yeah, each switch has a different value, and it's 0 if it's actually turned off. Now, which switches? And to know that, you actually have to look in the server code again and look at the switches, the code for the switches, basically. So, where? Maze, this is the file. Yeah. These are all the numbers of the switches in hexadecimal. And these are the switches, and the question is like, what actually happens when you switch? And it calls this function. It checks if more than 0 switches are actually set, turned on, and then it checks if the value is 0. So what we have to do is we basically have to select the proper amount of switches, like turned on proper switches, for XORing these. This is XOR, as you can see. So that the XOR of these values is actually 0. So the question is like, okay, which switches do we have to turn on? So this is actually a super simple puzzle. It wasn't supposed to be complicated. Let's just code it in Python quickly. And yeah, let's do like def check, and v is a variant, and I'm going to use just a binary notation to know if a switch is supposed to be set on or not. So for I in, there are 30 switches, by the way, 30, so there are 16 million, there's 1 billion combinations of this. That's not a lot. So up to 30, switch 30, okay, equals 0, and for if I shifted, but if b shifted by I is 1, then k should be XORed with the value from switches number I. And now in the end, if k is equal to 0 still, and actually like, yeah, that's okay, then print v. And yeah, we can start with this, and we can call for I in x range 2 to the power of 30. We call check v. We can actually print it in hex check I. Okay, and we run it in PyPy. Do I have a PyPy solve? PyPy is a JIT compiler, so it's actually faster. Yeah, it found it for 0 because for 0 it's okay, but we do have to have at least one switch actually turned on. And after we find that, we actually have to actually have to know which switch is which, and it's like the tongue twister. Which switch is which? 3 witches watched 3 swatch watches. Which watch which swatch watch? Yeah, I failed. Are there any questions though? How was this maze generated? It's a just question. I have absolutely no idea because Yuru implemented it. He used some maze generator, I'm pretty sure about that. Yeah, we already joked about sticking to the right of the wall. what happens when you use teleportation ring and spoof coords to location where the wall is? So there was a check in the code and it said that the ring is flawed, and it actually changed the name of the ring that the ring is flawed and it exited. So you couldn't teleport into a wall. You can, okay, you can increase the limit of stack sizes. Thank you. That actually helped a lot. So thanks Disconnected and KrzaQ. Not to drown in tea. You can try, okay, but we already solved that. What is your shared directory setup? Do you just share Windows home directory? It's described somewhere. I share some disks basically between my VM and my yeah, and a disks as in, you know, the full root of a disk and my host machine. Longer question, and there is actually a link to a longer question. I always wondered why people like you stay in the good side, if I'm not mistaken. Good one. While they can make more than 10 million a year using their dark skills in the dark side, there is 2 reasons to think of. One, they know they will be arrested in the end, even if you are the leader of like, yeah. 2, you don't like that type of work. Yeah, it's actually both. I mean, if you do a thought experiment and you start thinking what steps you have to take to be undetectable as a hacker, it actually is quite complicated, it turns out. So, yeah, and it is a fun thought experiment to do, by the way. And I actually don't, I'm just not interested in, you know, trying to hack other people's for my gains. Yeah, I enjoy teaching people, you know, and doing other stuff like that. I do not enjoy hurting other people, and the money you get is usually get from, you know, this isn't honestly earned money. And also, you know, like 10 mil is a lot of cash, right? But nobody says that you cannot get that amount being on the good side. Okay. It's still running. Why is it still running? Did I fail somewhere? I'm pretty sure I did test it. Why is it still running? Oh, maybe... No, it is 30. Let me look where I have my tests for this maze test. Yeah, here we go. Oh, I know. Okay, let's assume it actually worked, and I'm going to just print out the correct results, okay? Yeah, these are... Yeah, let's assume it worked, and because it would work, it would just take some more time. You can probably solve it better using an SMT solver or something like that, or a SAT solver, that would be way faster. But what you would get is you would get basically these switches. These are only the end of the number. So I'm going now to go through all the switches, and I'm going to, well, you know, turn on the proper ones. If I try to get through through this, I cannot, because the way is blocked, and it's a blocked secret passage. Not really secret, if a huge yellow sign tells me it's a secret passage, but okay, it's quite obvious anyway. So yeah, we need to set proper switches on. And this is 5519. It's actually sorted here, so yeah, we need to turn this on. This one is 4379, 4379, 5604, 94. No, this needs to be turned off. This is 74. Yeah, it needs to be turned on. You might be wondering, it looks like I'm skipping one, but I'm actually not, because if I turn around, I always look at the same switch. So this was 0 and 747. Yeah, it is here. Then 96. No, this is not on the list. 63166. It is on the list. 1815, it is on the list. 2, yeah, it is. 51, it is. 59, it is not on the list, so I'm ignoring this one. 3790 is on the list. 14, no, it is not on the list. Okay, there are more switches here. 27, yeah, it is on the list. 8644, 8644, it is on the list. Then 2719, it is on the list. 6072, 60, it is not on the list. 2413, 2413, it is on the list. Are there two switches with the same number? If there are two switches with the same number, like here, it's not good. 7838, 7838, it is. 5740, 57 it is. 65, no, it is not on the list. 7391, it is not on the list. Then 3218, nope. 5529, it is. Oh, no, not on the list. 86, yeah, it is on the list. Then 3354, 3354, it is on the list. And 96, it is on the list. Then, yeah, it's actually opened. Do not ask why this displays like that. Totally not a bug in the code. So it's no longer blocked. I'm not sure why it displays that it is blocked, but it's no longer blocked. I can go here and enter and read the flag. Have fun going back. Yeah, as you can see, I did create the challenges around 3 AM and I was already like in a snarky mood, I guess. So yeah, have fun going back to Lee. If you didn't have a teleport ring, then you would have to actually walk back through the maze. So there's that. Okay, there's only one challenge left, which we can do it from here because we have enough mana. That's actually good. Though I'm... yeah, the last one is to cast a spell to summon the flag. And to cast a spell to summon the flag, we need to find which spell is that. And we already looked through the spells, right? There's the binding spell, there's the magic arrow spell, which doesn't do nothing, and there's the ram spell or shove spell, which we already used. So, but there is also high magic, and the high magic requires the length of the spell to be 8. If we look for high magic spells, there seems to be a vexillum. A vexillum is in Latin for like a banner or a flag spell. This is the only high magic spell in the game. Well, one of 4 spells, so yeah, but oh, whatever. And yeah, and basically it uses a different interface to do it. Please ignore the name, this is a typo. Okay, so it opens the flag spells and it says you summoned the flag, sorry, the flag file, and it says you summoned the flag and just outputs the flag. And if it doesn't work, it says contact the admin because it should not happen, like, yeah. So that's it, we just need to like figure out what runes to cast and that's it, right? No, because high magic is actually a different function. If we go to high magic, we will learn that there's a special high magic function which is used to evaluate this. And so you enter the spell, and then it actually has some crypto key, and then it uses high magic decrypts on the spell. So basically whatever runes we give it, it has to... it decrypts them, and the decrypted string has to match the name, like the vexillum, right? So we cannot enter vexillum, we have to actually find out what runes we have to enter for them to be decrypted into the string vexillum. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's look at high magic decrypt function. And yeah, is this yeah, this simple code, as you can see. Yeah, easy, simple math. Yeah, totally. Okay, so, and this is the standard way I name my variables, if you're wondering, right? So the code is obfuscated, obviously, and you would have to de-obfuscate it first to get anything going. I am not going to go through deobfuscating this code because it's actually rather easy. What you have to do is you have to rename everything to make sense. Like start with, I don't know, apple, oranges, and whatever, and then when you figure out what is this thing, then actually rename it to block, to I don't know, ivy, and so on, key. Now what you then learn is that this is actually an unrolled for loop. It's yeah, like just look at the additions here, right? Only the additions, the first 8 columns. It's permutated, but like it's only one index is one time. So this is a simple for loop which has been unrolled, and this is also true for this for loop, for another for loop, for the next one, and so on and so on and so forth. So after rolling the for loops back again, you get this code. Okay, and I guess I'm going to spoil a little because this is the solver already for the challenge, and this was decryption, right? So yeah, this is how the decryption looks after you actually deobfuscate it. It gets a block and a key, as we know. We saw how it's invoked. Then yeah, then there's a matrix. You know, basically like a two-dimensional list of bytes, or table of bytes, array of bytes, yeah. And then there are the for loops we saw. So what it does 16 times something like this. It does some transformation on the block. So the block is going to be block plus or XOR or minus. These are all reversible operations on the, like using the matrix. Sorry. Then it does some funny form of byte mixing, which it basically like does shift 1 byte, or actually rotate 1 byte in the block. The block is again 8 bytes. That's important to remember. So it just, you know, takes the last byte and puts it at the front. This is the last byte, and it's being put at the front, and then the rest is concatenated. And then it actually XORs 7 of the 8 bytes with each other. So it takes 2 bytes and it XORs them and writes out the next value. This is a reversible operation, by the way. If it would XOR all of them, it wouldn't be, but in this case, one is used as the initial key, and it's still being kept there. Then it does the transformations on the matrix itself, not on the block, but on the matrix, and it well, shifts the rows and columns of the matrix. So if you have a two-dimensional table, you know, a column might be shifted or actually rotated. It does some other funny operations like addition and subtraction on the matrix, and again the shifting depending on the key. This is by the way the only transformation which depends on the key, and we do know the key. We know the decryption key. And there is another transformation done to the key, basically in the way, also in a predictable way. And this all here is done 16 times. So this isn't super complicated. Now the problem is that you have only the decryption function. You do not have the encryption function. So what you have to do is you actually have to create an encryption function based on this. There are a couple ways to do it. I guess you can use an SMT solver to actually do it for you. You can also do it manually. And if you look into this, it isn't super complicated because there are 16 steps, and in the 16 steps, the matrix is being transformed 16 times, right? And then the transformed matrix is being used each time. So at the end, what you end up with is like the last matrix is which you used. In the encryption, you actually is the first one for you. So the easiest way to go about it is to do the transformations first and just save 16 matrices. So you have 16 matrices because you know the key, and these transformations are totally not related to what you are decrypting or encrypting. This is the block. And then having this matrix is saved somewhere, because this doesn't have to be part of this loop again. You go from behind. You start with this transformation, which is basically like you just subtract from the oh no, this is a key transformation. So I guess you can do the same with a key. You can just store it the same way as the matrix. So that's fine. You go therefore from this part. You start with XORing it in the different order, like from reverse, basically. This gives you the previous block. Then you rotate it in the other direction. So you take the first block and you put it at the end. Then you reverse each of these, which basically boils down to changing this to a minus and this to a plus, and changing the order. And that's actually, oh, you don't even have to change the order, I think. And that's it. And then running it 16 times. And that's the encryption function. To show you how it looks like basically this. So you pre-calculate the matrix, pre-calculate the key, and actually you do not even need to store the key, because the key is used only for the matrix transformations. And then you do exactly what I did tell you. So you de-XOR from the end. Then you move the first byte to the end. This is done here. The first byte is appended to the end of it. And then you do the transformations in reverse order, and you do it 16 times, basically. Yeah, and that's it. This is the encryption function. So you can use this encryption function to encrypt the Xylem string, and from that you get the runes, which you have to input. Now, the problem is that you get the runes from the whole set of runes. As I did mention to you before, you basically, if you like, these are the runes, and there are like 556 from them. By default, from the client, you can only enter these runes. So you do have to create a proxy to actually enter the proper, the proper runes. So you can use, these runes and these runes and these runes, because they are not in the client. There's no way from the client to enter them. On the network level, using the protocols, it's quite easy to just send the bytes. So let's look if Disconnected actually has this in his exploit, and we can use it again. Go forward, rotate, solve maze. What about casting? Spell data. Sending a spell. Okay. Oh, this is for the teleport, I guess. Okay, I don't see... Oh, yeah, here it is. This is, by the way, the encrypted string, which after decryption gives us the Xylem. Oh, without, yeah. Now you know where my old team got its name from, by the way. So we need to use the spell $. And we need to use this with Disconnected exploits, so let's just use it. Thank you, Disconnected, again for sending this to me. It actually saved me quite a lot of time coding this. Cool. Now, I do not need this anymore. What I do need is I need to change the client to connect to the game. Sorry, the proxy port again. So that's one thing, and I need to start the proxy again. Is this no, this is the client. This is the proxy. Perfect. Okay, and yeah, that's because we have full mana, so let's just issue the proxy command in Disconnected's exploit. It's actually really cool. I really like it that he made this interface to the proxy, that you just type it in game. That's really cool. Well done. And yeah, and it says you summoned the flag, and here's the flag. The flag is there's a demon behind you. I hope at least some players did look behind them. There are no mobs implemented, but yeah. So that's it. That was actually the last task in Arcane Sector. I hope you did enjoy the solutions. Let me maybe move here. Thank you again, Disconnected, for sending me this, and it did, well, even with all the problems, it actually did speed a lot of stuff. And let's look if there are any questions, and if not, then we are, I think, 20 minutes off schedule anyway, so we should be finishing for today. Let's show the questions. There are 2 questions. Yeah, Disconnected says that the proxy can cast the spell too. Yeah, I did notice when you said it on chat earlier. And Danny says, how do you think one should learn a new subject? I find gaining experience as soon as possible is infinitely better than reading theories. I fully agree. The way I like to do it is I just like to start with I know and do something. I know I will fail miserably, but I will know then what I need to learn. I will learn what I need to learn basically by making mistakes. And then I learn that and iterate. And yeah, this is my favorite method of learning actually. I'm not saying it will work for everyone, but it works for me. So, yeah. Yeah, but basically, like, the bottom line is that I fully agree that you should do mostly practical stuff, hands-on stuff. Apart from that, there are like 2 smaller pieces. One is learning theory behind what you're doing, and the other is watching other people do it, like experts, because you can pick up a lot of tricks from watching smart people. So for example, if I'm learning electronics, I sometimes run some YouTube videos and like see what other folks, what they're showing, what is their approach, what are they looking at when they're solving a problem, and so on. And that's really important too, I think. But yeah, the key thing is hands-on manual approach. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much for being here. The game will be on my GitHub in a couple of days, probably as soon as I upload it there. Yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you for KrzaQ, my moderator, for being here today. And there is a mission, and a really cool mission at that with prizes. So do stay and listen to some music while reading the mission. That's it. Thank you. Next week, I will actually talk more about how the game was constructed from, a programming perspective, from an engineering perspective. So if you're into programming, you might want to show up on next week's stream as well. And tomorrow I have a Polish live stream. If you know Polish, then totally do check out my other YouTube channel, which is Genveil Coldwind without anything in the middle. Thank you, and see you next week. And I'm leaving you with the amazing mission. See you.